Interesting.
Let's go.
Hello.
Hello,
My name is Haruka,
I'm Mia.
and this is our Seriously Unserious podcast. To start off our celebratory first episode, I doubt
Yeah.
anyone's gonna watch this, but that's okay. We're gonna talk about interpersonal relationships.
Yes.
And how it's like kind of evolving with the world in a way. Just to like start it off, this is a personal experience, but I feel like the way we navigate through our own relationships have changed quite dramatically in the past few years, just with the involvement of social media and the standards that stems from social media and the things we see online. No one really talks about it. No one really talks about the direct effect that social media often have on the image that we have on personal relationships.
And also, not only does like the world like grow around you, but you grow yourself. So the relationships and the way you handle relationships you did in the past is not gonna be the same of how you handle and manage relationships now.
It's very true. And we must talk about the modern dating scene if we have to talk about interpersonal relationships. So, if we want to get into personal details, right? You're in a very healthy relationship. You have been dating your boyfriend for a year and a half now?
Over a year and a half.
And that's something, okay, I honestly can't fathom that. Like, I have so much respect for people who can, I don't know, like, commit to something as serious as that, but also at our age, because, mind you, we are teenagers.
Yeah.
We're pretty young. Yeah. So, not to mention the level of commitment that it takes to be in a relationship and to balance it all out at our age, I think is something that's very respectable. But at the same time, is there any advice you have when it comes to modern dating, especially because we're in a brand new generation that a lot of people say is kind of dying. Yeah, where love doesn't exist. Yeah.
I think for sure the statement like love is dying or love isn't real anymore is definitely not true, because you can create love and find love anywhere. And I think the problem is with people getting into relationships is that they want like this ideal person so bad, and they have these standards that are so incredibly high before they even get into relationships. So when they meet someone who's possibly like an amazing person, they're gonna be like, oh, but they're not in my standards and they don't have this, and this, and they forget the qualities that person have. I was not looking for anyone. I was not interested in looking for anyone until I found my boyfriend, and like I was like, no. And that just proves that love really finds you. And I know it's corny, like the statement like, oh, they come when like universe thinks you most need them, but honestly I really see how that works, because I was not looking for anything. I wasn't interested. I didn't see how it could honestly benefit me in any way. But then I met him and I was like, wow, you feel something different.
That's very sweet.
And you have to learn to adapt, because if you truly have interest in that person and you like that person and then go to love that person, you will adapt and try anything to be with that person. And it's about adapting.
Yeah. No, speaking of that, this isn't just in the modern dating world, but I feel like us as a society have grown a lot more hostile towards mistakes. I don't know how to explain it, but I believe that cancel culture has something to do with that. One mistake can genuinely lead to a detriment of a person and the treatment that they receive from others. And that kind of leaves no room for any growth whatsoever and no room for mistakes. And that can be applied to relationships, because I feel as though so many things are critiqued so harshly. If he does this one thing, then he's out. That's a red flag, that's a green flag.
Yeah.
It's categorized into such a black and white scale. There's no grays, and I think that's honestly really toxic.
Yeah.
Because humans cannot be categorized in such a distinct way. No one's perfectly like a white
Yes.
or like good or bad. That's the whole point, right? There's the ambiguity of morals and the actions that people take, and we can't necessarily draw the line between the good and the bad, because again, that's also a personal preference. Not a preference, but you know what I mean.
And especially if you're going into a relationship or you've been in a relationship, you'll understand, or you'll know that, like, if you really like that person and you're like willing to genuinely try, it's about like finding a balance between like understanding each other and communication. Because when you get into a relationship and like you have your first fight or you have your first like disagreement, that's gonna happen. Like, you guys can't agree on everything. You're not the same person. That's what makes relationships really beautiful, is because everyone is different and you guys are different. And like, even if you've been together for like 10, 20 years, like, people are gonna fight, but it's how you deal with it and understand that, like, you need to have that to build a healthier relationship.
No, definitely. I think fights are, it doesn't even have to be a fight, just an opportunity to communicate what you want, what you don't like, is so important. It doesn't have to be hostile.
Yeah.
If the other person sees you expressing your opinions as something hostile, that's already like a not to contribute to the whole red flag, green flag scheme, but that's kind of a red flag, because you're not necessarily trying to argue, you're just trying to communicate. That's not something that you're seeking out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then that kind of brings me to like an opposite point. You are allowed to fight, but at the same time, if you're constantly fighting, like, there has to be something wrong.
Yeah, because you have to draw a line. Like, communication is the most important thing in a relationship, because, and like, I will stand by that, because off of communication, everything else builds. Like, if you don't have communication, then you don't know each other. If you don't know each other, there's no trust. If there's no trust, there's no safety. Like, if communication breaks, then it doesn't work with not only romantic relationships, but every relationship.
Definitely. I think we overlook how important communication is in the entirety of the relationships we have in life. Because so many things can honestly be solved if two people sit down and just hash it out.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of maturity. It's not the matter of whether or not you like confrontations. If you care about the relationship enough, I think anyone would be willing to try to salvage it.
Yeah. So you have to be willing to try. And if you're not willing to try, then it's maybe you're not ready, or it's not the right person.
But at the same time, we have to also define what communication is, because sometimes when it comes to fighting, a lot of people, they kind of like make it personal. They stray from the subject of the argument or the matter of the argument itself, and they just go directly to jab at a person's flaws. And I think that's wrong. That's wrong. That's not communicating.
That's not communicating.
Communicating is directly addressing what the other person did that made you feel unpleasant, what you feel like you should do better. Just, it shouldn't be a personal attack on any like aspect.
Like, it's what upset both of you in the moment.
Exactly.
You don't have to make it about anything that like happened months ago or weeks ago. It's about solving what is in the now.
It's not a competition.
It's really not.
I feel like a lot of people treat things as a competition, and it's not healthy.
Yeah. Like, you have to remind yourself that you're communicating and you're doing this for the better of both of you. And if you don't put your all into it, then it's going to become one-sided, and that's not going to last. Like, that'll break.
Definitely. And communication isn't only important during the relationship, but beforehand as well, to know what you're getting into.
Yes.
If your morals, if your values don't align with one another, it just would not work.
Yeah.
It would not work. I'm not talking political or religious. I mean, it could be as well. but just what you think is right and wrong. Just such a subtle thing can make a big difference in how you guys behave and how the relationship goes.
Yeah, definitely, because if you don't establish and like communicate that together and understand what is important for each other, then in the future they're gonna be like, oh, but that's just what I believe, and you'll be like, well, I don't believe in that, and that goes against what I am and like who I am as a person. And then it'll break again. So
especially now where so many people are just splitting into sides because of like the political sphere, we must discuss like what truly matters the most, because you shouldn't have to bend what you believe in order to stay with someone. That's just immoral. That's disrespecting yourself. That's disrespecting what you believe in, what you hold close to your heart. So why must you put up with that disrespect in order to tolerate being in the presence of someone? That's not fair.
Because that just proves you're having to change yourself and like squeeze yourself into this whole image that you think this person will like more about you, but you genuinely like have to realize that if you find the right person, that person will love you for who you are. Like, you shouldn't have to change anything, how you act, how you look, how you like present yourself for someone to love you or like you even more.
This brings me back to the initial point with us being more like less tolerant of mistakes. I think we've been seeking too much perfection out of everything, including the relationship that we have. And I don't know why that is, but maybe because social media, for example, it's such a surface level depiction of who we really are, and it's like a glossed over image of so many things. It's a perfect image of a variety of things, and we've become less tolerant of things that we don't consider perfect. And at that we draw a line, and maybe we become less accepting of completely human flaws, and maybe that's what also affects how we deal with relationships in our lives.
Absolutely. Also because like online there's so many different relationships of different ages and generations, but also I feel like I see a problem with like teenage relationships, especially, of expecting too much, because when you're with a teen in your teenage relationship, like young, you should never expect like another person to do everything that you could do in an adult relationship, like paying for everything, taking you out all the time, like going to do all of these things for you, like cooking for you. Like that works in an adult relationship maybe, but like in a teenage relationship, you guys are kids, and you guys need to understand that you don't always have to have like a perfect, more adult relationship, because you can build to that. And it's important to like follow like simple things, but expecting the world out of someone at such a young age is definitely takes the love out of a lot of it.
It's big. It becomes very materialistic in a way, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's just this is gonna get into a whole another discourse.
Okay, yeah.
Speaking of that, teenagers trying to copy adults. Kids are growing up too fast.
Yeah.
Kids are growing up too fast.
Way too fast.
I'm not special for it. Like, there's been so many discussions regarding the loss of preteen culture across social media, and how kids are just growing up and skipping that awkward phase entirely to get to this. Because you see 13-year-olds on TikTok and they look 25.
Yeah.
They look 25.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily exempt from that as well, because I'm a teenager and I've been mistaken for someone a lot older.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that problem, because people way younger than both of us look older than us.
Yeah.
So let's address that.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
I think it's all social media. People like kids just like want to fit in to like looking like, because like, oh, like she's so pretty, like I want to look like her, and then they change themselves and they like buy makeup, buy new clothes, because they want to fit into what social media is projecting.
I've listened, or I saw this video essay about how we're losing preteen culture,
Yeah.
right, in society. And one of the reasons why is because we're losing stores that specifically markets for preteens.
Oh, yeah.
And I never thought about it, but it's true.
It is true.
Back in the 2000s, the 2010s, we had Justice. We had like
Forever 21.
Forever 21, and that was like still kind of like young adult, but you know what I mean? Like the mall shops, because we don't go to malls anymore. We're lacking the stores or the places that preteens could be marketed towards. But now, because of social media, what preteens are kind of aiming for, or who they want to be, are adult influencers.
Yeah.
So they're gonna copy what they wear, and what they wear is full like adult stuff, Lululemon, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and the online shopping, the sphere of online shopping also makes it also more accessible to getting to like wear more adult clothing in a way.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I feel like we're watching childhood slip right before our eyes for these kids. Not to mention the involvement of technology in their lives.
Yeah.
But
it's just sad because, like, so many kids are growing up, like, because I know I did, I'm sure you did too, grew up on, like, going to, like, your friend's house, playing with your friends, playing with actual toys.
Yeah.
Up until, like, an age where now people are like making TikToks. I was still playing with toys. I was in my princess dresses.
No, I had princess dresses up until like the 6th grade.
Yeah, and like I had so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about anyone because I was young and I was just a little kid.
Definitely.
But then kids these ages are like so focused on being online, and it's also parent influence. Like if you're letting your kids have iPads, have phones at a young age, unless it's for like safety reasons, no.
I think I will vouch for this because I think I got the best of two worlds. I grew up without technology. I didn't get any access to online stuff until I was at least in like 2nd, 3rd grade, and that was still like a family iPad. And even then I would be playing outside. Like I wasn't a big technology person, and I think we're the very last generation to grow up such way. We were never iPad kids. From the moment we were born, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
But I was also given a phone in the 4th grade, and I know how much detriment that unlimited internet access can grant a kid. I'm not even kidding. It's bad. It's bad, because especially with TikTok and Twitter and platforms where adults use, obviously there's gonna be adult content. Maybe not explicit, but there's still gonna be
adult content.
Yeah. And if kids are receiving those messages day in, day out, then they're going to internalize that. And that leads to the normalization of things that shouldn't be normalized, like sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And also, like, these days, like, because we grew up, even like our siblings, they definitely grew up much different from us, but also really similar, because I remember I was like playing, if you got to eat, for example, I would always like bring my toys to restaurants, or like I would always like make toys out of stuff that I found. But then I go out like these days, out like and about, and kids are like on their parents' phones or like on iPads, and I even see teenagers like out to restaurants with their family or their parents, and they're like on their phone the entire time, and it ruins like actual like human connection.
Yeah. Whoa.
Like, it's just so sad. Yeah,
it's a shame. It's genuinely such a shame. I see it on dates as well.
Even on dates. This brings back to our first point. Like, please, like, time and connection is so important. It shows that you want to be in that moment.
Exactly. Not to quote Tati, but time and place. You did it at
There's
my birthday dinner,
always
but like
a time and a place for everything. For romance, for friendships, for families. Like, you need to understand boundaries. You need to understand connections. You need to understand time. What
like
else?
not to tie these two themes together, but this loss of childhood, but also the loss of, or just the modern dating scene, to tie these together. I feel so sad for them because so many things are just being destroyed for these younger generations.
Yeah.
The image of dating itself, because if they grow up with this modern dating lingo, ghosting, green flag, red flag, bop, all that, and the normalization of sex from a very young age, that is gonna be very harmful to how they act and how they treat relationships when they grow up. It's not a small issue. It's really not. And more people need to address it, because this is a generation that the future is relying on.
Yeah.
If, like, I'm not trying to vouch for purity culture. Not at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, we must critique the normalization of hookup culture. We must critique how lightly we treat the topic of sex and human intimacy, and how we dismiss affection in such a casual way, because that is going to ruin human connections. I'm not dissing anyone. I'm not trying to vouch for a purity culture, like virgins. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what I'm trying to do. You do you. If that makes you happy, great. But pushing that ideology, or having young kids internalize those lessons before they can even form a thought, before they're even taught on those subjects, is wrong.
Yeah. You can do like what you truly want, but like motivating and pushing it onto younger generations is not okay. Not even only younger generations, but really anyone, because it's up to them to make their own decision on what they like morally believe is right and what they truly want for their own selves and their own relationships. Because like what you think works for you and what makes you happy is completely different to what another person like wants. Some people don't want to be in relationships, and some people find like a lot of happiness and love being in like a nice, like consistent relationship, and it's just different. People need to understand that.
Yeah. Also, like, just to bring back to the modern dating scene, but also if kids grow up with normalization of situationships. What the hell? I'm sorry. I hate the term situationships. I hate it. I just hate it. Try to explain that to the ancient Romans, to Shakespeare himself. So these two people like each other, but they don't like each other enough to date, but then they do stuff together. Aneurysm. That's gonna result in an actual aneurysm, because what do you mean?
I think to a certain extent, like, the term situation, like, the idea of it, I can understand to a certain extent. Like, you don't want to be in a relationship, but you want to try and, like, go around a few people trying to find out what you want in a person and figure out what you want for yourself. That's understandable. But, like, spending so much time on one person where you're like, okay, well, this isn't going to work anymore, and you've established that, and spending still so much time with that person, it just takes away.
We come back to communication.
Yeah.
Because the thing about situationships, usually one person is not all in. That's why it's a situationship.
And the other person is completely.
Yeah. So because if they were on the same page, if they both didn't want anything, then they become friends with benefits. That's a whole other sphere. But friends with benefits, that's like a mutual understanding. They're on the grounds of mutual understanding. Situationships, if at any point in time, if one is way too invested and one doesn't want that at all, that's already unfair.
It's just messy.
That's just so messy. That's unfair. That's not how it should be. So with that, if young people, they grow up watching that and they think that's normal, then I think the grounds of the human relationships that they're going to like build on, the fundamentals of it, is gonna be all messed up.
Yeah.
And I'm scared for that. I live in constant fear of that, because how are they going to form a healthy relationship
Mm-hmm.
with that internalized
Yeah.
morals in a way?
Mm-hmm. And because you're honestly just wasting each other's time.
Yeah.
Like, this, you want, like, maybe you possibly want something, the other person doesn't. But you, again, going back to the point, you can't force someone to be in a relationship, and you can't force yourself or the other person to fit in what you want.
Exactly.
Like, at a point, you need to understand that it is not gonna work, but it's for a reason.
Exactly.
Everything is for a reason. That's a whole nother thing
That's
we
a
can
whole
talk
nother
about.
thing. Oh my god.
But anyway.
That's philosophy. But
Yeah.
no, there's more to be said about the
Mhm.
modern dating scene. I think a lot of people have opinions about it.
Yeah.
I've certainly listened to a lot of opinions about it. We could say more.
Mhm. We certainly have our opinions about it.
Yeah. But when it comes to love, there's a lot more to come. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's it for
That's
episode
it.
1.
Hope you
We
enjoyed.
actually yapped on.
We did.
So yeah, this
Mhm.
was Haruka.
And Mia.
And thank you for watching the
Thank
Seriously
you.
Unserious podcast. Mwah.
Mwah.